I was watching a football game when I heard about it, and I couldn't believe it. And then it was reported on television, and TV reported it as a news piece, but it didn't have the. I guess the Beatles are radio, and I immediately turned on the radio, and that's when all the emotional impact of it hit me. For some reason or another, it was like I felt like the same way when JFK was shot.
Yeah.
For some reason, when I got up today, I expected flags to be at half-mast. I expected Walter Cronkite to be on TV all day. But like I said, television doesn't I don't know if they understand or if it's caught up with them yet, but it's all going on the radio.
Yeah, well, there's only so much visuals that television can do. I mean, we're sitting here really playing. I'm sure every station in the world just about is playing Beatle records today.
Yeah.
Because we don't know what to do. I mean, what do you say? What do you do? You know, other things seem irrelevant, and yet some of these records seem painful.
Well, I think you're right to go with how you feel. It's like it seems wrong to get away from it to play anything else, and on the other hand, it can seem maudlin to stay with it for so long. But that's how I've spoken to a couple of different people that I know who were, working radio, and they don't know what else to do.
Yeah.
But I think that expresses the sentiment a lot of people are feeling more than any other medium.
Well, how do you? I know probably how you feel as a fan. Does the fact that you're a performer change the way you feel about something like this?
No, I was a fan. The guy has a house about a quarter of a mile away from my house here on Long Island, and I guess I could have gone over and introduced myself at any time, but I was just in such awe of the guy. I never did. Now I'm sorry I did. But
so you never did meet him?
I never did meet him. But for some reason, it was like one of the family. I grew up with him. I guess a lot of people feel like that.
Sure. Well, we're about the same age, I guess. And
I'm 31.
Yeah, I'm 32, so it was around that time, 63, I guess I was about, 63 when we're talking about when Kennedy, it's ironic, when Kennedy was killed, almost the next month is when the Beatles came on the scene.
Right.
So those two events seem to be tied in our minds,
That's exactly, for me it was the beginning of adolescence, and this is kind of the end.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's bad to give in to how you feel or playing the music. I know it's sad, but it's sad, man. It's tough.
Yeah.
But it's sad, and there's no getting away from it. And like I said, I got up, I thought the flags would be at half-mast. They're not. And I thought Walter Cronkite would be on TV, and he's not. And I thought everybody would have their headlights on, but they didn't, so...
Well, there was substantial TV coverage, I think, on the today.
I like radio, though. I find everybody I know is turning to the radio.
Well, music is a good part of what we do. Can you talk about the Beatles and all what it meant to you? I mean, I know that was real important in your formative days of music.
I was like everybody else who was the same age. I became instantly struck by the Beatles and Lennon, who was the leader. Everybody before them seemed to have been manufactured out of Hollywood. The Fabian thing. They all had, they were great-looking guys, and they had somebody else was writing the songs, and somebody else was playing the instruments. And all of a sudden, these guys came out. They played their own instruments. They looked like you and me. They wrote their own material.
Well, they looked like you. They didn't look like me, I think, Bill.
They looked like like the regular guy, and all of a sudden, it wasn't so impossible to imagine yourself doing that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And remember when all those every block had a band.
Is that when you got into it?
Yeah. I mean, I had been into some rock and roll before, but I never considered it a possibility for me to make a living out of it, to do what those guys did. And it hurts to hear a lot of the songs, and now you can look back and put all these heavy meanings onto them. But it was part of the family. It's part of your life.
I was going to say you were compared kind of to McCartney at various times in your career, musically, I guess. And you told me really some of the songs you've done sort of you conceived as tribute to Beatle music, as sort of rephrasing of certain Beatle things,
Just about everything. When it comes to the bottom line, it always came back to what what did the Beatles do? What would they have done? Whenever we had a doubt, so turn to the Beatles.
Yeah.
And they never came off like, oh, we're great musicians. They always put themselves down. Especially Lennon. He was constantly poking fun at himself.
Yeah.
And just, I don't know. I'm as in shock as anybody else.
Yeah.
But,
had you met any of the Beatles?
No. As a matter of fact, I saw George Harrison once going through customs in an island in the Caribbean.
Yeah.
And I didn't have the nerve to say hello. He just kind of walked through, and I said, hi, and tried to look like me.
And he probably didn't have the nerve to say hello to you, right?
No, I don't think he knew me from a hole in the wall.
Well.
I was trying to look like Billy Joel, gave him the left shot profile, and, but I never met any of them, really.
Do you, I don't know really how to say this, but I mean, do you feel that, these are special people, and probably there are people that, there are people that relate to you in that sense, although I know you can't really see yourself in that sense as, you know what I mean, on the stature of the Beatles or something, but...
I can't think in those terms.
In many ways, you are, in a sense, you're on a very high plane of success in the pop music world,
Not like the Beatles.
Yeah.
I just...
you think there'll never be anybody like that?
Just like there'll never be somebody like Elvis or someone like Sinatra or someone like Gershwin.
Yeah.
I don't think there will be anybody like the Beatles. They will be played 100 years, 200 years from now. I have no doubt about that. It's like Beethoven passing away.
You really think that, though?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I have no doubt about that.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how long they'll be playing me, or they'll be playing who's ever popular for,
Yeah.
Even the Stones. Even though they have some classic stuff, the Beatles were songwriters first.
Mm-hmm.
I think, and performers second.
Right.
That's, the wealth of stuff. I mean, everybody's going... It's ironic, but in the last 12 hours, I've heard the most incredible radio I've heard in a long time.
Yeah, because we're digging out the old stuff, but doesn't it sound different today, though, Bill? It's like songs that, you know what I mean? They have different meanings, and they just sound different, and they've taken on this added dimension, this weird, dimension of being somehow, much more meaningful today, some of them.
Well, possibly we're over reacting to a lot of the words now, and we're putting all these profound meanings that aren't. I don't know. I kind of broke down last night and got into the real sad stuff, and at this point in the day, I've gotten around to the Dizzy Miss Lizzy and
right.
rock and roll music and roll over Beethoven,
mm-hmm.
which was the John Lennon. I guess that's where he was coming from.
Yeah.
All along. I had a talk. I met with George Martin, even though I never met the Beatles.
Right.
And he told me something interesting about Lennon, which was John Lennon never knew there was such a thing as a song that was longer than 3 minutes long, which had a lot to do with the Beatles' music when they first started out.
Yeah.
And
you almost worked with George Martin, but you didn't.
Yeah, we didn't end up working together.
Right. And then you made a couple of fairly successful records with Phil Ramone.
Yeah.
And the rest is history. What are you up to now, Bill? I know you've been off the road for a while and out of sight. You working on mixing a live record or something? Or?
We have a lot of live things that we picking, sorting through for a possible live album. I don't know what would be the next album or whenever it would come out, but we have a lot of tapes to listen to that. I'm writing, and actually I just not doing a whole, too much else. I'm riding a motorcycle a lot.
Oh, I see. Be careful.
Yeah.
When do you think you might put the live thing out? Do you have any idea?
I have no idea. I really don't. I intend to go in and do another studio album at the beginning of 81 anyway.
Oh, I see.
I don't just want to put out a stock live album. But, I'm in a writing phase now, so it's kind of very introverted.
Yeah, you said to me when we talked about the last album, Glass Houses, that you were surprised at some of the criticism you got for changing style and some tunes and so on. And you said to me, what did we say about the Beatles? Because the Beatles had Yesterday and they had, Revolution. I mean, they had every kind of music, Helter Skelter, and the most beautiful ballads, and and yet nobody ever accused them of not having a style or something.
Well, I think they would have been the first ones to say that they didn't. They admitted, Buddy Holly and Chuck Berry and a lot of influence. And McCartney said his English show, music hall, that kind of thing. Lennon, Little Richard, all that stuff. Listen to any of their albums. They run the gamut. They go all the way.
Do you have the whole set in your house?
Yeah, I got every Beatle record. Boy, I got bootlegs. I'm ashamed to admit it. I got them.
Really?
I'm a fan.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Billy, Joel, thanks a lot for checking in with us today. I appreciate it, and I'm sure people are interested in hearing your thoughts on this.
Yeah, well, here's a suggestion I'm thinking about, because of all the people I've been talking to. What can I do? What can I do? There's really nothing you can do for the family right now. Yoko's in a lot of grief. There's nothing you can do directly by sending flowers or anything. I think Lennon was a rock and roller. Maybe a way to give vent to grief is just kind of get home, put on your dancing shoes, put on some rock and roll Beatles records, and dance. And just celebrate the guy's life.
Right. Billy, thank you.